Hello, my name's Jo and I am a writer, and I have decided that I want to start a video journal of my journey as a writer. And it's not always going to be about writing, as writers we are much more than our writing practice. I'm very spiritual, I have lots of other interests, and I want to document this. I want to document my journey as I explore my writing gift, as I explore how I work with words, and I want to explore how this all ties in with my creativity and my spiritual side, and so much more. There's so much more that I want to capture. And so this is my journey. Jo Worsfold, LUMA is my brand, my business, and this is my journey. Thank you for being here with me. Okay, I feel like this is a big one. Um, there's a big part of me that rebels against traditional teaching. Um, so, you know, the certificates, the courses, the formal training to be that is people say is required to be to have this qualification or to have that title or to have that, and it's something that I've battled with on and off but this whole way through, because I also see the value in, say, a university degree or a training or a course of some kind, learning from somebody else is valuable. It has value and it's necessary. But it's like it's like this the pendulum. I swing one way and then I swing back to the next. So I feel myself rebelling and getting really annoyed at, um, say the education system, because it's so traditional, it's so rigid, it's so this is how you learn, this is what you learn, and I feel like there's very little, in most cases, very little room for free thought, free play, um, free curiosity, free discovery. Um, and so then I lean right into, you know, teaching myself, self-taught, learning in my own way. And if that does involve doing a little course or two here and there, then that's fine. But I've just, it's the rigidness of the big structural degrees that drives me absolutely bonkers. And I don't even know why, because I've never done one myself. So I might be completely delusional. I might have this idea of what it's like to study a university degree or some kind of formal qualification. I did my certificate 4 in bookkeeping studies years and years and years ago when I had a bookkeeping business. Um, and that was fine. I got through it because I am quite academic. Like, I'm quite intelligent, I can hold my own in that sort of learning capacity. But I also questioned everything. It's like I'm the annoying student. I'm the one that asks the million questions and challenges statements or ways of doing something. Um, and I think that's part of the entrepreneurial spirit as well. I think that's what makes a good, business person or entrepreneur, because, you're willing to challenge the status quo and ask questions and, kind of find your own way. And so I've just forever and ever, I have swung between the two, like rebel, conform, rebel, conform. It's making my head spin. You know, when I wrote my book, Equilibrium, a few years ago, I'm just thinking now, I made a point as I was writing that book to not read any other spiritual self-help books because I didn't want what I was doing, what I was creating to have for anyone else's thoughts or opinions or techniques or ways to have an influence on what I was creating. I wanted it to be from me and know that it was from me. It wasn't going to be a mishmash of what I know and what I've just heard or just read in someone else's book. And I was really strict on that. I had so many people say, you should read this book because this will give you an idea of, you know, even down to formatting, even down to the layout of the book. Like, read this book, read that, you know, this will get, and I'm like, I kind of just want to figure it out. Like, I don't want to do it how everyone else is doing it. I want to do it in my way. And that was the approach I took through that whole process. So I've had no formal training in anything. I haven't even done like a creative writing course ever. I'm self-taught. And so for me, self-taught, a big part of that is channeling the information. So sourcing the wisdom, sourcing the knowledge from the divine, but also self-taught is following the signs, following the nudges and the intuition, like following the intuition down rabbit holes. Because I do research. I do look up things that I want to, that I feel like I need to in the moment. But it's wholly and solely intuitive. So there was a chapter in my book, or there was a part in my book where I talked about, where I wanted to reference, oh God, I can't even remember what it was now, but it was something about, I had this idea of, I just wanted to make a reference to how people in ancient Egypt revered crystals and used crystals as an example. And I don't know, I am not a history expert, I wouldn't have a clue. And so, but I had that intuition to reference that in the book. And so then I was like, okay, I need to research, I'm going to research this. I need to go down some rabbit holes and read some books and literally research, do my research, do my due diligence and make sure that I'm, you know, referencing something accurately. And I don't even know what I want to say here. I need to unpack this because it's that tug of war that I've had forever between being self-taught and being educated. And the reason this has come up for me now, the reason I've been sitting on this for a few days, because Spirit showed me in the early hours the other morning that one of my books that I'm writing very soon is going to be fiction. So the book that I wrote, Equilibrium, is non-fiction, like it's spiritual self-help. And the book that I've just started writing is also self-help. And that feels, I like writing in that way. But yeah, Spirit showed me that I'll be writing a fiction, a novel, very, very soon. Actually, I've already done the short story, and that short story is going to form the bones of this novel that I'm going to write. And straight away, I was like, but I don't know how to write a novel. Like, I don't know how to build chapters in that way, in that storytelling way. Um, and they were like, you don't need to know. You are self-taught. Hey. And then I was like, but I don't know, like, character development. Like, I don't know anything about character development. I wouldn't have a clue. I've read my fair share of novels. Like, I love reading. Um, so, I know from a reader's perspective, but I have no clue, what's required for character development, for plot development, for the subplot. Like, I feel like there's just this whole thing to writing a novel that doesn't really exist when you're writing a self-help book. Um, and it scared the life out of me. I was like, I don't think I'm ready for that. I would need to do a course on this, and I would need to do this. And they were like, no, you don't. You are self-taught. We want you to show the world that, yes, you might dip into a little short course here or there, but again, it's going to be led by intuition. So as I'm writing it, I'll be like, okay, I feel like I need to learn a little bit more about, say, developing a secondary character. So I'll do a little bit of research, and I'll, join some Facebook groups, and I'll have a read through there and ask some questions, and maybe, read a book of someone else if there is a book that exists. Do you know what I mean? Like, they want me to lead myself through this process of teaching myself how to write a novel without having any formal training, without knowing anything. And that scares the life out of me to the point where it's actually pulled me up short, and I haven't been able to write any more on the other little self-help book that I've started writing. Um, so that's the purpose of this journal session. I wanna unpack that because I know I can do it. I taught myself how to write and self-publish a spiritual self-help book in 2018, 2019. So I know I can do it. But I wonder now that I'm thinking about it and feeling into it, I wonder if it's more the fear of the judgment of the writing community that is freaking me out a little bit. Who am I? Who are you to say you know how to write a book? Who are you to say that, you know anything about character development? Maybe it's the judgment of others. And I think that's often where I seesaw with my whole, sort of organically taught, self-taught, um, open learning versus the traditional learning techniques. Because I think that's often what pulls me back into the traditional stuff. With that is that people will be like, they turn their nose up a little bit, or they literally won't give you a job, or they literally won't give you the stage, or a space, a seat at the table, because, well, you don't have the qualification. Like, just thinking now, like last year, I was so hell-bent on becoming a member of a meditation Australian association, because I felt like that's what I needed for validation. Not for me. I don't need any validation, but for other people. You know, if I thought to myself, well, if I have this, if I'm a member of this association, they have all the cred. They have the, you know, they've got the resources, they've got the, you know, whatever to. So if I have that little stamp on my website or in my pictures when I'm sending them to people, if I want to talk at an event or, you know, guest speaker or whatever it might be, then this gives me credit. This makes me look more professional, more, yeah, more. And that was a process because that never worked out. That was an absolute pain in my backside. um, and I kept trying and I kept working towards it and I was so close and they were like, yes, we'll accept you. And I was like, yes. So I paid the fee and then they were like, oh, actually, we're going to create a new section for people like you because we get a few inquiries from people like you who don't actually have, you know, because I've not done any meditation training, but I have Stellar Journeys, which is a weekly meditation practice for writers. But I'm not a qualified meditation practitioner or meditation facilitator or whatever the hell you call it. Like, they are channeled journeys. And I've said the whole time, I don't need any qualifications to be able to do this. My qualification is with Source. Thank you very much. That's all I need. But I was starting to feel like people were not taking me seriously when I would say, I'd love to come along and do a meditation at your event or do, you know, a talk on this. Don't have the qualifications. And so they were going to this association, we're going to create a whole, like a new, like sort of umbrella category for people who don't have the qualifications, but they can be vetted through like experience. But even that annoyed me because I was like, well, I have 10 years experience. So I was okay. Like they were happy with 10 years experience. But I had to get written letters of like validation from professionals in aligned industries vouching for me. And I get it. See, this is the thing. I get it. Because they don't want any Yahoo bloody idiot coming along and because there are people like that. There are people that aren't genuine and they are trying to rip people off and they are trying to rort the system. And so they have to have their due diligence. Like I totally understand why they need what they need, but at the same time I feel deeply annoyed by it because I have 10 years up my sleeve, so they were happy with that. I just had to get a couple of letters verifying from professionals. I ended up just getting friends who had professional jobs to write a letter saying like a reference. But I'm like, I was qualified from day one, like from the very first day that Spirit showed me what Stellar Journeys was going to be, and I stepped into this room to hold space for a room full of people to take them on this journey, a stellar journey. I had never done it before, but I was in full trust, and the whole thing was channeled. Nothing has changed. I do them exactly the same now. So I was as qualified on that first day as I am now. But if someone, if I had tried to get some sort of association subscription or, affiliate or whatever, then there's no way. And so I see that there's a need for the structure, for the rules, for the certificates, the qualifications, the stamps of approval But my God, there's just such a big part of me that it annoys me to no end that somebody else that's holding a certain position, their their validation, their yes, their approval bears more weight than my own. That pisses me off. Mm. And so this whole writing a fiction book without any of that, on the one hand, it thrills me and excites me because I'm like, I want to stick it to them. And it thrills me because I love doing things in my own way. Like, that's just the way I am. I want to do things in my own way. Thank you very much. But at the same time, I do have respect for the system. Parts of the system, not all of the system, but parts of the system. I understand why. But I feel like the system's flipped a bit because, or has gone too far in a certain way, because it's one thing to have structure and frameworks, um, and systems in place to verify, you know, yeah, this person's legit, this person needs more experience or work or train or whatever. Um, but it very quickly and easily goes into control. We're going to control the masses. We're going to control who's saying what, how they're saying it. Um, and I don't know what the answer is, because there are, as I said, there are people out there who are not genuine and who are wanting to, they're not coming from a good place. They're not, and they just want to, suck the bucks, or, take advantage of people, or whatever their motive might be, their agenda might be. But I don't know, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how the rest of us who are genuine, how can we be set free? How can society be set free? Um, Maybe that's the answer, to set us all free, and we figure this shit out for ourselves. We, I think we're all smart enough now to know to do our own work, and work on strengthening our intuition, and reading people and seeing the signs, and learning the lessons, to be able to figure out, I'm really drawn to that person's giving me weird vibes. Like, can we figure it out for ourselves without these hierarchies doing it for us? There's a novel idea. Anyway, I think I'm going off on a whole other tangent. Writing this book, a novel. I am excited to do it. I honestly think the big thing was just worrying about being taken seriously. But I shouldn't be worrying about that now. I've been doing healing work and spiritual work, which is often seen, not so much now, but 10 years ago, it was seen as very much witchy, weird, woo-woo nonsense, charlatan, all the things. So I've had my fair share of, lessons and growth through that, to know that I can hold my own and still stay in my power and hold my seat at the damn table, whatever table that might be, um, and still being very respectful of those that do have the degrees and do have the qualifications, and the 30 years of writing under their belt, you know, the experts. You know, full respect. Full respect. Okay, that's also what I don't want to do. Disrespect anyone. I do not, from me doing this my way, which is a little bit loose and a little bit rebellious and a little bit, well, I'll do what I want. This is the important thing. I don't want to disrespect anyone. And that crushes me. If I even think that I have disrespected someone purely by accident, purely through just showing up and being myself, that's tough. And it's actually not something that I'm very good at managing yet or navigating yet. So I think that might be a huge part of it as well, is how do I do this and stay very humble and very respectful of the people that choose the other path and the people that have all the trimmings. Probably calling them trimmings is not respectful. God damn, sorry. Having the qualification and the experience and the expertise. That's, I think, what a big part of this journey is going to be, holding space for both, respecting both, doing it my way, unashamedly, self-taught, and yeah, deeply respecting and honouring everyone, no matter how they choose to write, no matter how they choose to learn. That's the key, I think. Okay, this has helped. Took me a while to get there. I feel like this was a bit rambly, but I did need to have a bit of verbal blah blah to figure out the crux of what this is. And that's what it is. And it's not about not upsetting people, you know, the people pleasing thing. I don't think this is this. This is respect. Doing what I want to do while respecting and honouring everyone's way. I am not a fan of putting my, you know, advancing my own beliefs and my own way of living, my likes, at the expense of somebody else's beliefs and ways and likes and dislikes. I'm just not about that at all. So I will stay. That's going to be my anchor. That's going to be my tether. I will come back to that. Full respect for everyone. And if shade is thrown at me, I'll look at it. And if I feel like anything is warranted, I will own it and I will course correct. But, you know, also, we're human. I'm human. And I am a perfectionist. So this is going to be interesting because I do like to get things right. But right in my way. Not right according to, you know, fill the blank. Yeah, so I don't want to feel like I'm towing the line constantly either, or being extra mindful of not offending. I think I can speak my truth and go on this journey and write this novel in my own way, perhaps even documenting the process. Knowing that I'm going to make mistakes and I'm probably going to piss people off from time to time, and, you know, without even doing anything other than just doing it my way, it's probably going to annoy some people, and that's okay. So I need to watch my perfectionism and my respect for everyone in the industry. I feel like there's more to unpack with this for me, but I think that's going to happen as I start to write, as I go down this adventure. So, I am excited. I am excited. Nervous, but excited. But this is how I felt when I started writing Equilibrium, because I had no damn idea what I was doing then either. And I think that's why I've done a self-help book for the second, well, not why I've done it. The idea dropped in, so it was what I'm meant to be writing, a self-help book the second time around, but it also feels safe because I've done it before. But yeah, writing a novel, writing short stories, fun. I don't care about rules with that. I just write and I build it out how I think it needs to be built out. And if it sounds good to me, then I'm happy with it, with a short story. But, you know, yeah, the whole idea of writing a novel is new. Never done it before. So let's go. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm all good. I've unpacked what I needed to unpack, I think.